Well, if you need any dream consultations, you could always watch one of my latest videos for that. I spent a whole week making that, so yes, I'm going to plug as much as I can. We open with the usual recap of the fashion show episode. Wait, wasn't there something else that happened last week? I'm asking honestly because I'm not sure if that was real or just a fever dream. Well, existential crisis aside, we opened at the lair of the witch, with Elda playing with some coral building blocks, which, yeah, she blamed Butler for her little structure falling down, but really, she shouldn't be using those as building blocks in the first place. As usual, he wanted to play one of his minions to get motivation energy, but the little shrimp threw a tantrum instead, especially after he didn't use her preferred honorific. He was also going to forbid her from returning to the lair without any energy, so in turn, she just chose to run away. Following this, the opening, if you watched the broadcast version, showed more previews of the film that just hit cinemas. These clips included Laura and Elsa doing things that might make Minatsu jealous, and a bit of the fights, including a cool bit of Asuka and Yuri doing a double rider kick, and recreating the end to Saw 5. Seriously, y'all savage. Anyway, at the school, Minatsu's class was doing a little rehearsal for a program where they would share what they wanted to do when they became adults. Do that, and you'll end up getting isekai'd into a sweatshop fantasy world. Of course, Sango and Laura's goals were easy enough to guess, but Minatsu was unable to give an answer. Fortunately, it was just a rehearsal, so she had time to think it over. Granted, it wouldn't be easy for her, especially if she turned to some low-tier guidebooks. Personally, I would avoid that last one, not unless you really want to jump the shark with aliens and time travel. Still, while she couldn't decide for herself, she could at least guess what the rest of her team wanted to do, leading into a good scene that called back to previous character development episodes for both Asuka and Minori. I especially like the stuff for the former, like how Laura pretty much confirmed that she spilled her entire backstory, much to Asuka's embarrassment. Hell, they even tried to predict Kurun's future. But okay, unlike last week, this seems like it's going to be a much more tamed episode, so I won't even have to break out the alcohol or... Where's my booze? I want my booze! This was all overheard by Elda, who of course rejected some of these ideas. No comment. That said, Minatsu wasn't completely alone in her indecisiveness, as some of our other heroines did have asterisks next to their state of dreams. Is that foreshadowing for this girl? Please, tell me that is foreshadowing! To clear up the air a little, Minatsu invited them to her house, where Daddy Hairy Legs had come over for a visit. She figured they could ask him on how he eventually settled on becoming a scuba diver. Yeah, if you get that reference, you are cool. But yeah, while her dad wanted to fight the Decepticons, Mrs. Natsumi originally trained to be a ballerina before becoming a marine biologist, which sounds a little familiar. But yeah, after Mr. Natsumi revealed that he also wanted to be Prowl and Patchy, he gave his daughter some advice. Yeah, about that. While justifiably they're telling Minatsu that she shouldn't have to worry about her future prospects at her age just yet, the show itself has played up this indecisiveness as a significant character flaw, especially back in episode 10. While her enthusiasm for wanting to do everything is admirable, as one of my commenters for that episode pointed out, eventually she is going to end up doing things that aren't the most important, which in of itself is a form of laziness. I'm not trying to say this is making her a bad character or anything, don't misconstrue that. I just hope that they do revisit this plot point sometime later, especially considering that this episode was written by head writer Masahiro Yokotani. Judging by his writing, especially here, he does seem to like making callbacks, so I'm almost certain this will be revisited later, probably for the final new attack of the season, which I'm looking forward to. Anyway, later that night, Laura privately asked Minatsu what she wanted to become, and was told to wait until the next day, leading to some... Nope, not just yet. Laura also took the time to expand on her dream, stating that she wanted to become a legendary queen, and yeah, friend and I both agree this with a shorter skirt would have made for a better Cure design than what we actually got. At the same time, Elda was still out and about, this time stealing food from a supermarket. I wouldn't go too far down the snack aisle if I were you, Elda. Not unless you want to see something that you might not like. Still, even after being chased out of the store, she was having a fun time, though she also did miss her cohorts, minus Butler. And she was made aware of her loneliness thanks to Kurun, who happened to be at the beach at night. Like, did they just walk out on their own? I mean, I don't know how far away this beach is from Manatsu's home, but shouldn't Laura be concerned her friend isn't with her at this hour?
The answer is don't think about it!
The next day, Manatsu did record her future dream message for the program, but wanted to keep it a surprise for her friends. Elda, on the other hand, was being far less productive, especially since she didn't have a Yanida ball. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on your viewpoint, Chungye gave her one in a nice scene between the villains. I mean, it was cute, showing that these antagonists are more than just cohorts, they're friends for the sake of evil, so yeah, it's complicated. Still, she used it on the Vulcan 300? Okay, never mind, it's clearly the Mazinger Z. I'm not even really kidding, it used all of the signature attacks of one of the OG super robots, complete with the classic sound effects. You know, Toy, if you just want to do another season of Robot Girls, just do it. Preferably without flash animation. Anyway, while her friends dealt with the rocket punches and kicks, okay, that's different, Manatsu tried to talk down the shrimp. And once again, they seemed to make an indirect callback through Elda's subtle air of familiarity with Manatsu. As a result, it was kind of a touching little back and forth between the kinda sort of friends, and also gave Manatsu's dream video time to play.
That's not an answer.
Still, thanks to it, Manatsu managed to detach the piloter, and they did the usual routine. Oh great, now the world's doomed to be taken over by either Dr. Hell or the Great General of Darkness. With no energy in hand, it seemed like Elda wouldn't be able to go home, but Numeri had her covered. Yay! Someone's probably not gonna be able to get out of bed for the next few weeks, but yay? With that, the episode ended with Manatsu's message replaying, followed by Sango revealing that she had expanded hers to being surrounded by cute things, and lastly, we got Laura's queen message. Manatsu then tagged on that even after she becomes queen, that they should remain friends forever, which, yeah, we'll see how that turns out. After what I think was an insane episode last week, this is a very solid plot episode that seemed to be planting the seeds for some future developments. Maybe it's because I just finished reviewing a certain other series, but this on its own was just an okay episode, covering themes that have already been covered countless times in this franchise. Though at the same time, it's clearly not meant to be just viewed on its own. Not only did they seem to build towards some future events, but they also seem to call back to some previous stuff, which I always appreciate. Though really, the best part of this episode, for me at least, was all of the super robot references. Yeah, I might relate with Elda just a little too much. I'm a little hesitant from calling this a great episode, as it was more than likely just setup, resulting in less character development for our protagonists, and more for our antagonists. Which isn't at all a bad thing, as it did end up making all of them, except for Butler, a little more likable. On that note though, I do want to see the Seahorse really start to shake up the status quo, as clearly that's what he wants to do at this point. Still, as for our protagonists, it was nice to see all of the pieces for their arcs start to fall into place thanks to some subtle callbacks to many previous episodes, even ones Yokotani himself didn't write. Stuff like that are not only signs of a great writer, but also a showrunner with clear plans, so I am confident that he'll be able to bring it all together. I do hope they can do Manatsu and Sango justice, as their dreams are still a little vague, and I don't think they should try to pull another Haruka and leave those ambiguous. We'll see how things turn out, but again, I am hopeful for that, and possibly some interesting turns for Laura's Queen arc. After all, my sixth senses are picking up some turbulent flags from that little declaration of everlasting friendship. As I said, I managed to get the final part of my Gold Prince review done, but Don't feel like you have to watch it, I only said that as an opening gag. Regardless, that was a labor of love that I was glad to see through to the end. I'm not sure when I'll cover another Precure series in full, though when I do, I'll probably go back to the OG. Yeah, I know people want me to cover Mahotsukai, but I've got a request from both sides, so I just made a judgment call. For now though, we've got other videos to work on, including Symphogear, as well as starting some stuff for my secondary channel next year. Look forward to all of that. Until then, though, farewell for now, my friends, and, you know, I think you and Pikachu would make great workout buddies.